Hello and welcome back to Mirror Interpretation Todorova. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ioana and I'm an interpreter and a polyglot. And right now we're doing a video where I'm gonna discuss with you in detail what is Defense Language Proficiency Test. I just did this test not long ago, few days ago, and I want to share with you what is that test. I'm going to share with you what kind of vocabulary I use for my translation portion, and I'm going to share with you what I did to prepare for Defense Language Proficiency Test. In this case, I did the testing in Russian English. Whoever is going to do the Defense Language Proficiency Test and provide services for a bigger organization, if it's a very official organization, you have to take the test on paper. And this is exactly what I did. And this is materials that I studied or not studied. I will be actually accurate translated in order to get ready. So I will speak first about Defense Language Proficiency Test. It doesn't matter what language you're gonna take besides English. What is this test? And what I will leave this over here. What you should know. Sorry, this is my noise elimination system. And what you should know, and what I did, and I took these two dictionaries with me, how the test is structured and what to expect when you do this test. So Defense Language Proficiency Test is a test that it has a goal to test your language knowledge on a target language, which could be English and another language, independently of the way that you have achieved the language. If you have studied, if you study it by yourself, it independently of what kind of school or education you had, this type of test, it measures your knowledge. And there are two levels of the test or two levels of the testing. Although the scores are different for each of them, you can get from 0 to 5. And now I'm going to go in detail. It's called lower range and upper range. The lower range of Defense Language Proficiency Tests, it goes from 0 to 3. And the upper range go from 3 to 5. And I'm going to talk about how the test is designed and what to expect. And then I'm going to talk about the scoring system. And then I'm going to talk about my experience taking different language proficiency tests or attempting to take this test this week. So the lower range, it's include of two passages, reading and listening. So you have reading 36 passages and four answers questions A, B, C, D, E. And each question have four answers. And then you have a 60, you have a listening, about 40 passages and two questions each passage, about 60 questions of reading and 60 questions of listening. And the content, it's basically focus on measuring your overall knowledge of a language and is not tied to any score, any test, any preparation, any class. So I believe this is a real evaluation tool of your language skills in English and in another language. In this case, I took it for Russian. And the topics that you're going to listen or read are all social, economic, geography, scientific, and military. Whatever you can hear on the news, on the newspapers to read, on TV and social media, it's a different topics included. The upper range, the same thing. The upper range have reading and listening. Again, reading, you have 36 questions of reading, 14 passages, and then we have listening, 36 questions, 14 passages, 3 questions each, 4 answers. You can find the detailed description of this, which I did, and I'm gonna show it to you because I did start with reading that and understanding I find this thing, Defense Language Proficiency Test Manual, and it was stated for Russian language. So I read it a very detailed, and it's also give example how the test is structured if you are going to take it online. But I repeat, if you're taking it for government test, they're gonna make you take it on pen and paper, and you're gonna be under surveillance while you're taking this test, just to make sure that you're not faking it. Said that, again, the upper range, it's same thing: television, radio, internet, newspapers, cultural, political, geographical, scientific, and military. And so the score is, you have two scores, listening and reading. Both of those scores are focused or with goal to check how well you understand the language. And I read it somewhere that further you go on the test, more, um how to say, more complicated it gets. It kinds of puzzles your brain, especially because the test, it lasts about 7 hours. So starting in the morning, you start from the simplest, and then further and further and further. I started with listening. So being tested for 1 hour is one thing, but being tested for 7 hours is completely different thing. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about my experience of taking or attempting to do this test. But I'm going to tell you the score. We have two scores, listening and reading. And I'm going to go detailed on about a score starting for 0, no proficiency, 0 plus memorize proficiency, which means that they are able to measure if you memorize something, and that's how much you know. One is elementary proficiency. Um, Elementary 1 plus elementary plus proficiency, 2 limited work proficiency, 3 is a general proficiency, professional, uh, 3 plus general proficiency plus, which means that you can professionally use the language and work with. Advanced proficiency is 4, and 4 plus is advanced proficiency plus, and then 5 is fully functional native proficiency. So I believe that in order to be hired, that's what I understand from the government, to speak both languages, you have to have at least 3 on listening and reading for this test. So the reading proficiency start from 0, memorize elementary, 3 again is a general proficiency, advanced until 5, which is function fully native. So anywhere above 3 for this test, I understand for official organizations, anywhere above 3, it's like it's good enough, so you're hired. um so my personal test, the test that I did, included also a translation portion because I applied for a position as a translator. I am trying to switch from interpreting to translation because I am tired of speaking all day long. I am a quiet person and I do like having a quiet time. So I'm trying to find a client where I can translate some documents, and I kind of want to put some like some translation and some interpreting so I don't have to speak all day long, because it's very exhausting for me to speak at least 4 hours a day. It's exhausting for my throat. I feel like I really need vacation. I feel like I really want to sleep, and just be quiet with someone. So my test, the test that I did, it was in one of those organizations for the government last week. And I started, I believe, with the 0 to 3 proficiency. That was a listening. I believe they put all the listening together from 0 to 5. And you had a headset where you can hear people talking. And then you had a booklet about 35 pages. Yes, the test is big. You had a book and you listen information, and then you have a questions talking about what did you listen, and you have to choose the best answer. You have four answers plus one that it says nothing of those answers is correct. Once again, the goal of this question is to pick the best answer. So listening, I did, it was about an hour and a half. The second portion, and they told me in advance that they're gonna test me in translation, and it's not how you think they're gonna test you in translation. A lot of people think, oh, I will provide you all the modern tool and I want you to translate one page and I want to see how you do. Most of the government organizations are not gonna allow you to use internet, neither, hi, whoever is here, neither any type of phones, devices, online dictionary. You can't do this. They want to see you nude. Your abilities to translate, in this case, was four paragraphs to translate from Russian into English. So they told me that I'm gonna have this test, and they told me I have about 90 minutes for that, which is an hour and a half. And I personally discovered that when I started doing this translating without using my computer and without using my phone, I would take forever. I was so used to use technology that that was really challenging for me. When I had the first interview a few months ago, they told me you should prepare and you should do this translation at home, get ready to translate without internet with a dictionary. Yes, and I bought these two dictionaries. I really like this Oxford one. The reason why, I will show you why, because first it's kind of big when it's written, but then here on the side you could see the alphabets, and it makes it a little bit faster for you to search. All of the dictionaries are half Russian versus English, and then the second part is English versus Russian. So I really enjoy those because they have a lot of words that you can't find on Google, you can't find on online dictionaries. So I study languages using paper dictionaries when I started back when I was like 15, 16 at school. So I really enjoy this one. This is very good dictionary. The problem is that it's not very full, and I find that this dictionary, even if it's not so beautiful as this one, it's very small, but it has more words that in this other one are not included. So so this really, it's a good, I just have a habit to open and to read a word. This is how you learn, just to read one word a day. The word is evacuatia, which means evacuation. So this dictionary is a little bit more detailed and includes some words that are kind of slang words, and I think this is a little bit better, although they did not work on the aesthetics. 45,000 words compared to this one. I think this one had a little bit less, but they didn't say how many words are here. Let me see if it says it somewhere. Oxford, it's very famous. Um, yeah, they don't say how much. They just say the structure of it. But this is better. This is not so beautiful, but it's a little bit more detailed. But anyway, this was the two dictionaries that I took with me on the test. And I discovered this one is a little bit not pleasant on the eye, but have more detailed. This one is more easy to work. So I really like the Oxford dictionaries. They are always extremely good. So I had these two dictionaries. And basically, they told me to practice at home to translate paragraphs with time without using any modern technology, just with the dictionary. When I started to do this, it took me about an hour and a half to do one paragraph. I was so puzzled with the internet, and so I will tell you how many pages I did. So this is my hacks, how I just, so I start doing this and I discovered how to beat the time. And I'm gonna share some hacks with you how to take care of the time when you have to translate and you're timed, you are, and you cannot use any type of technology. So I did translating passages. I'm gonna give you pages in Word that I did, and in order to prepare for my translation part of this test. But I gotta tell you, you can't be ready for that, but it kind of make me understand how the tests work and how I can do it fast. Yes, I think I did okay on the translation. I don't have the results yet. It's gonna take 5 weeks, but I feel all right with that. So cultural cursing and cursing words. That was the article that I translate 3 pages. Geography, 4 pages. Iran versus USA war situation, 4 pages. Economy, 7 pages. Science, 7 pages. Politics, 4 pages. War versus Ukraine, 5 pages. United Nations, they have a bunch of articles, and I'm going to show you what I did. 3 pages. Cultural values, 3 pages. Philosophy, about 8 pages. So it's not like I did them in one day. This is like 11, 14, 19, 23, 30, 37, 41, 45. This is like 50 pages of translation, but they're all in very different topics. So, because once you start translating them, you kind of memorize the words that you didn't know. So it's kind of get easier with you. But the whole game or the whole reason of this exercise of translating at home materials for me, it was to learn uh, how I will do it faster. And this is what I discover how I do it faster. I have some of those materials here. So I'm gonna just give you a sample. This is the first part. Is Закон о запрете мата в соцсетях. This is a law that forbid cursing in social media. So as you can see here, I will show you. The first thing that I did, I will read the text and I will underline the words that doesn't come right away to my mind. And then I will start look for each word in the dictionary. So here is it was stupid в силу. It's come into force, on be reinforced. Закон 21 февраля 21 году закона вступили в силу изменения федеральный закон информации, информационная технология о защите информации, закон запрете мата. This is Russian. So it says that in 21st years, the enter in the strength the law that forbid to about social media, information media, social media, and so on, and protection of information that forbid to curse in social media. So here I didn't knew stupili. I know what means stupili. It means to enter, but in this case, it means something else. It means to be reinforced or come into force for the laws. So first game that I did, it was to search stupili, and you see to find it Vastorg, and then write it on the top of the word. Well, I discovered that when you do this, it takes me about an hour and a half when I find a word that I don't know to search it in a dictionary and type it on the top, and this until I do one paragraph, which is almost two-thirds of a page. So I discovered that this was not very, how to say, productive. It takes a long time. So the second thing that I did, I said, okay, let me try something else. I would read the phrase and I will write it down on a piece of paper and I will put a line for the word that I don't know. And this word I'm gonna put in the page below. So I'm gonna, let's say, I read the text. The text says, let me do another text so we're not boring. Let's change what I did here. По каким закон происходит социально-политическое потрясение? Political. So, and I write, what is the rule that guide the social political shakes or shocks? And the words that I don't know, I leave empty. And I can show you. I leave them empty and I continue the translation of the old text, writing down whatever I can and leaving space for the words that I don't know. And once I'm done, I discover that if I go back and read the text again and search the words that I don't know one by one, it takes a long time. So instead of that, I will put and make a dictionary below the first black boxa, whatever they call it. I will write the words in below. I'm going to show you. And instead of reading the text again, I'm just going to go ahead and search the words. Let's say we have, you see, I have the dictionary below. We have the words that starting with P. I'm gonna search all the words with P, then all the words with whatever next alphabet is, until I find them. And usually in one paragraph, I will have between 3 and 5 words that I'm not so sure about the meaning and that I need to search in the dictionary. So I discovered that if I write the word below, it's faster. And if I search the alphabets, including search the words P, Peter, P, for example, oh, this is all different. I just want to look some words that are very similar. Okay. Перемещению принадлежит, подлагаю, поскольку. They all start with P. Перемещению is intermix. Поставленный is decide, is decision making or somebody that is imposed. Принадлежности, becoming or belonging. Полагаю, think, guess. Поскольку, as far as. So they all start with P in Russian. And as they all start with P, I start with P and I search with P as an alphabet. Then I have another word, statia. Statia, it's mean article. But sometimes it doesn't come to your head. So statia, and then I would search another one and search all the alphabets that start with S. This tactic itself, it helped me save a very long time. So I was able to translate one paragraph within 20 minutes. Depends on the paragraph. Some paragraphs 10 minutes, some paragraphs 15. I write it on the top. Once I put the paragraphs into 15 minutes, this I feel like I knew how to do it. 20 minutes paragraph. I knew I was somewhat ready. And then, so the test include 4 paragraphs. Military, some of those paragraphs including some drugs that I don't know, and I admit I didn't know. They were not in the dictionary either. I don't take drugs, so I don't know how to do this. I couldn't find the word. It was MSD or MDSD, something like psychedelic drugs. So I just write what I understood, the meaning of it, but I'm sure I was not precise. This type of drug was not something that I find in either of the dictionaries. So they are going to have those type of words that would not be included in the dictionary, and they would be slang words like pashol k chortu. It's a cursing word and its mean goes towards the line, but basically it's, if you talk about the meaning of this expression, is like I'm wishing you to die, basically. I'm cursing you, damned you, go towards your death, something like that. But literally it means go towards the line. Пошел к черту, it means go towards the line, because when you have the machine that tick your heart, have you seen the one EKG that do ton, ton, ton? And when the person die, it's just a line. And so the cursing in Russian is very deep. Пошел к черту is like going towards this line. The line is the steady line that shows that you have no pulse. They would do have those type of expressions, which make this also fascinating about cultures and languages, correct?
But anyway, so my second portion of the translation was the second part of the test, and I had hour and a half as well to do this. Um, and then they give you a break. If you can have a break. You had the listening, both portions, and then you had the translation. It was the second part that I did. Um, 3 paragraphs obligatory, 1 paragraph was by choice if you decide to. Um, Doable. I did it within the time. I think I finished like 5 minutes earlier. I could have tried harder, but I know that it's the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to do whatever you can. And so that was the translation part, and the last part was the reading. And this was really, really puzzling because um, the whole test, the 65 questions are structured starting from the very simple, and further you go, your brain get more fatigue, and the test, the articles that they gonna let you read and ask you questions about get more and more and more puzzled. So, for example, I remember there was this part where a mother was very upset with the son because he wanted to fast and she was trying to make him eat. And then he said, "No, I am fasting." And she's like, "Well, you can go to jail." And then the question was, what was the feeling of the mother? Anger, aggression, frustration, patronization. So it's very complicated to guess what this person was feeling because you don't know. She had all the range of those feelings, guessing by the text, but the answer is one. Or she was scared, fear, you know. Yes, of course she was scared for her child because he may go to jail. Yes, of course she probably was patronizing a little bit, desire to control maybe. So we didn't know what exactly. You can't just memorize those. This is what makes this test so unique. um, there is also a portion you're not obliged to use vocabulary, so this vocabulary was allowed only for the portion where you translate to check words, and out of that all the other tests there is no vocabulary and no technology, no phone, nothing. And that's only the written part because I understand that there is going to be a second part, talking, and it's going to be talking in English and talking in Russian languages. That's what I understand. If I pass this part, of course, I feel pretty confident. If they fail me, losers, they're losing such a person like me. I'm joking, but there is companies that fail you so you can buy the test, or they try to sell you these classes to make you successful and stuff. But that was my defense language proficiency test. If you take the test only in English, I guarantee you the same thing. You're going to have articles from the wire, science, politics. And no, you can't fake it because you can't fake to understand something. As you can't fake love someone, the same thing you can't fake to be caring about someone, because if you don't care, your actions would show it. The same thing with this test. So I just attempt this test. I don't know what my score would be. Let's say I'm kind of excited to know if I pass. And if I did, I will have a second test. And I'm going to share with you the second part. If I didn't, well, c'est la vie, as they call it in France. We did try it. But anyway, said that this is my impressions, and this is what I did to get ready for so-called Defense Language Proficiency Test Level 5. Um, this is a real test. This is not a test that has a goal to fail you like MBCMI, my forgiveness. MBCMI, it's structured to fail you. to puzzle you and make you doubt and make you be confused. CCHI, clarity, I advise CCHI again. This type of test, it's actually designed to see your knowledge and your understanding of a language, reading, writing, listening and understanding, and comprehension and understanding for different levels. You start with the very simple questions and slowly they get up to more complicated. Yes, some questions I was 100% sure I did correct, and some others I was like, I don't know. Let me, I was not so sure. So some of them I read again and I check. Uh, on the last part on the reading, you have 2 hours and a half. But I will tell you, your brain is so tired after lunch for me that I just did it in an hour and a half. I couldn't like squeeze my brain and force it again and again. I said, okay, w- I just try it, I just try it and I hope I did well. I hope I did enough well to pass, to have the score 3 and up in all of those ranges, listening, reading, comprehension, and all that. And I think that was everything. I see somebody's there. Hello to you. If you have a question, that was the time of questions. I don't see anyone asking me no questions, guys. But if you do have them, you can type them on the box over there. And in the meantime, I'm gonna use the moment to answer a question to someone. Uh, it was a girl. Let me open on the second page. There was a question. I'm just gonna use the time to answer your questions from your comments. Let me see. It just pops on my head. It was a girl asking me what are the languages that I use the most. Um, and I will respond into these questions very in a very funny way. Well, the number one language that I use is English. Believe it or not, yes, you have to get. I use English more than any other language because anytime I pick up the phone, there is somebody that speaks English there, that they need some kind of assistance with English. Then depends where I provide services. So I have a Canadian company I work for. I provide Italian mainly for them, although I'm contracted for Italian and Bulgarian. There is a company I'm contracted with, I provide only Russian. I was providing Bulgarian only for UK government during COVID, and it was Bulgarian only. So depends what language you want to sell. If we want to talk about you selling your services and marketing yourself out, you can find clients that that need this specific language. Yes, if you know Italian English, you can provide services for trades Italian English or something like that. So depends what languages do you want to work with. But for sure, if you want to address your knowledge and study languages and learn a language that you want to do money with, which are the biggest country on earth? Russia, USA, China. Obviously, the biggest population and the biggest request will be for those languages. So if you speak English, and then it's come Brazilian Portuguese, Spanish, if you want to. Then, if you're in Europe, will be French because a lot of diritti, Carta dei diritti umani is the human rights that are written by ONE. The human rights, the Constitution of the Human Rights is in the official language English, French, German, and there was one more, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, right now there would be other languages added, but there would be for sure French and English and German because these gonna be the predominant languages in Europe. Independently from the additional language, is gonna be Spanish or Italian or whatsoever where you are located, or I don't know, Bulgarian, Romanian, whatever other language you do speak. So if you're in European community, you must speak English. Although right now you could see that UK, went opt out of European Community in 2021. I don't know if you guys know. There used to be a lot of problems with the criminals traveling from uh, Eastern Europe or Italy or other countries that will go to UK. And I work quite intensively the last few years with UK government, especially with the police, with human trafficking and truck drivers that transport drugs. And you could see that bring a lot of problems into UK, and I kind of understand why they would lock their borders for European community, because I was working for the police and I would see bunch of those people will just go there and walk the streets with no money, and then the police will pick them, and it's gonna be very extreme situations for me as an interpreter too. I don't know, husbands that beats the wives or hit them, and in their community this is not even like um, abuse. For some countries this is normal. And so having a civilization country like UK with all these newcomers, it's kind of make everything very complicated. So Eduardo, hola Eduardo, especially for the one visualization, I understand policy, keep going, great job. Thank you, Eduardo. How do you effective? Okay, some people are just making those questions that I rather not respond because I feel like it doesn't make sense. Uh, there is this new filter on YouTube. I just want to share this with you guys because I like it. If you send me any inappropriate content, it's going to be locked. It's going to be blocked, and I can block you forever from my channel. So I respect other people's opinion. I just want to share this in the end of my video. You are free to share your opinion on my YouTube channel, but you have to be respectful. Trying to put down experiences that I share, like for example, under Stratus video, I believe somebody who worked for Stratus writes several bully comments, putting me down and telling me that I'm fake and that my experience is fake and all these things. I am really happy if a company updated their politics and the way they do business and the way they are successful and the way they update you, respecting you and all that. I am happy if this is happening because I think this is the way a company should do and be. And I do believe that the company should use the negative feedback to grow and learn and update their policies, update the way they pay, the way they treat you, the way they interact with you as a freelancer. And if you are indeed one of those interpreters who had a wonderful experience, I am more than happy to invite you to be my guest and share from the hiring through the working, through the payment, and how excellent the payment is. For me, $17 an hour for an interpreter, this is not an excellent payment. Yes, if I was living in Eastern Europe and you give me $17, yes. But if I'm living in a city where renting a house, it costs $2,000, you can't give me $17 and tell me that you're giving me an excellent money. So I see you guys, two of you, and I don't see any questions. So said that, that was my summarization for defense language proficiency test. And before I forget, if you did learn something in this video, you can say like, you can press like, share, subscribe. You can also make a free donation. If you are a Russian speaking person, you can subscribe for MBCMI test for $19.99 and you could see all the videos there, which I'm adding more. If you're Spanish English, you can purchase my training clicking on the Thinkific box below. That's gonna be Spanish English. Si eres un intérprete español-inglés y quieres separar muchos terminología médica, está un training de sistema cardiovascular de 4 horas. El precio es $47. Puedes acquistarlo si clicas su link below this video. Al final puedes obtener una certificación de completación cuando compilas el test. So, guys, that was for my training. Said that you can purchase some of my merchandise, which I know is kind of expensive. You can, if you want to support me, like, even if you press like, that would be a supporting me. If you don't want to do money or donate money or buy any of my classes or trainings, you can still support me by expressing your preference or writing me a comment below on the type of the video you want me to made for you. If you want to be my member, you can subscribe for $7.99. They are weekly or even a little bit more often than that. I publish new videos about where I provide services, interviews, and so on and so on. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys, whoever is watching me. If you are celebrating Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving is today, 24th of November. And this is the day where American white people took a tradition from Native Americans. That's why they eat turkey in Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, it's a Native American tribal tradition where all of them meet together and share a supper. This is not normal. Thank, thank you, Black Butterfly 75. I appreciate you being here. So Thanksgiving is basically a tradition that white Americans stole. I don't want to use the word stole. I would say right now they use this tradition to honor the Native Americans and celebrate their tradition because they are on the Native Americans' land. So they do turkey, and it was very surprising for me, and it's still difficult for me to kind of get used to this tradition. In Europe, it's kind of normal to have a supper with your neighbor or share it or something like that. And this is kind of normal. It's normal in Italy as well, in Eastern European countries. Oh, I just make this soup. You want to try it, or you want to try this? It's kind of normal to us to share a supper. And I'm just trying to remember last time somebody spontaneously prepared something for me. I don't remember it, to be honest with you. I don't remember anyone ever inviting me for a supper, except guys that I don't want to have supper with. But this is another story. But anyways, that's the Thanksgiving history. I did study for my citizenship test, and this is where I learned a little bit about Thanksgiving, because I remember last year I would ask people uh, that are born here, Latinos, different what we celebrate, and they wouldn't know. When I ask what we celebrate for Independence Day, a lot of people doesn't know what we celebrate. Well, I do know. We're celebrating. So let me tell you a little bit about Thanksgiving. Actually, is coming from the people that work the land. And this is the period of time when they collect all the fruits and the vegetables and all of the things that the nature give. It's over. They harvest everything, and now there is nothing in the fields anymore. So it's basically celebrating what the nature give you. And Thanksgiving is also, that's why it says thanks, to be grateful towards the land, and give to share with your neighbors. Because before there was an actual market, the people will have this thing called barato in Italian. I forgive me, I don't know the word in English, where they're gonna exchange merchandise. I have apples, I give you apples, you give me peaches, and so and so and so. So the Thanksgiving is celebrating the grateful toward the land that give you whatever gives you, and then to give to the neighbors. And if you read a little bit Carlos Castaneda and some other Native Americans writers, Carlos Castaneda write about peyote and the psychedelic factors of the cactus. And some of the books that he write, it seems like he was under the effect of those plants that have some toxins that affect your perceptions and make you have visions, and so on and so on. You should read some of the books of Carlos Castaneda, by the way, if you want to know a little bit more about Native American culture. So Carlos Castaneda and other people will, if you read a little bit of Native Americans, or if you know about the culture, they would have these traditions to share. So the tribes will invite you to share food, and then you're gonna have the pipe. It's tobacco. There is a special ritual that I actually was one blessed to do in this place in Canada. I was in this retreat where they would do the tobacco. It's a ceremony, it's a peace ceremony to have a puff of tobacco, and it's very interesting. No, I'm not talking about the mushrooms. Actually, Carlos Castaneda is talking about there is a cactus that have the same effect on you. Uh, it's called peyote. It's a Native American ways to express it. If you want to read about it, just look Carlos Castaneda. He would take the psychedelic cactus and he will use it as a psychological journey or a spiritual journey. Also, if you read some Native Americans or Indian books from India, Hindu culture, they do have taking marijuana as a spiritual journey, and this is opening your chakras. There is a big history behind the power of these plants that they can bring you in order to get in connection with your soul and with your spirit. And they do these rituals. Some people, when I was in Mexico, they have this mushroom thing. I remember I was in this island and somebody was talking about exactly that. But they would have some interesting traditions on how to get closer to your soul, basically using substances. A lot of people nowadays overuse substances and they are very far away from their soul. I just remember I saw something it was on Instagram. They say how to find your soulmate, and they asked, it was Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, and he said, well, first you have to find your soul, then you got to look for your soulmate. A lot of people have no connection with their soul or with their spirit or whatever you want to call it. Well, es su alma, quello que quieres. That's about Thanksgiving, guys. But yes, they used to give food, celebrate food, and celebrate tobacco and use of tobacco products as a peaceful way because they were very primal and the violence and the killing was very normal back then. So when they smoke tobacco, they make peace. They eat the food and share it and then make peace. So this is a very beautiful celebration coming from Native Americans. Thank you guys for being here. I'm gonna cut this and wish you a happy Thanksgiving and sorry for the stories in the end. Bye bye. Thank you for being here, Black Butterfly 75. Take care. Bye bye.